It started in a grocery store of all places. The first time it happened, I barely even registered it as a thing. It was just weird. My girlfriend Isabella and I were grabbing stuff for dinner. I couldn't find the specific kind of olive she wanted, so I flagged down a young guy who was stocking shelves. As I was describing the jar, Isabella walked up, plucked it from the shelf right behind him, and dangled it in front of my face. She looked at the employee, a kid of about 19, and said with a theatrical sigh, "Sorry about him, he's completely helpless without me." Then she laughed. And the kid, not knowing what else to do, laughed with her. My face got hot. It was a small thing, a stupid little jab, but it was the public nature of it that stung. It was like she had just formed a little club with a total stranger, and I was the punchline. I didn't say anything. I just took the jar, and we kept shopping. Later that night, something else weird happened. We got home, and as we were putting the groceries away, she was all over me. Way more assertive and intense than usual. She practically dragged me into the bedroom. I'm not going to get into the details, but the dynamic was different. She was in complete control, dominant in a way she had never been before. At the time, I didn't connect the two events. I just wrote it off as a strange day. But then it happened again a week later. We were at a coffee shop. The barista got my order slightly wrong, and before I could even politely correct him, Isabella stepped in. "Just give it to me," she said to the guy, rolling her eyes. "I'll make sure the man-child gets his special little drink." She winked at the barista. He looked uncomfortable, but he forced a smile. And that night, same thing. As soon as we got home, she initiated things with that same intense, overpowering energy. That's when the pattern started to click in my head. A public put-down for me, followed by a private power play for her. It happened a third time at a hardware store, when I asked a question about a specific type of screw, and she answered for me, telling the employee, he thinks he's a handyman, but he can't even find the right screw. It's adorable, isn't it? They shared a laugh at my expense. And that night, the pattern held. I'm a pretty laid-back guy, but I'm not a doormat. I build custom furniture for a living. I work with my hands. I'm quiet, but I'm not weak. After the third time, I knew I had to say something. I waited until the next morning. I made coffee, sat down across from her at our kitchen table, and just laid it out. "We need to talk about what's been happening," I said. "The comments you make when we're out, the jokes at my expense to total strangers." She just stirred her coffee, a little smirk playing on her lips. She wasn't surprised or ashamed. She was waiting for this. "What about them?" she asked, all innocence. "It feels like you're trying to embarrass me," I said, "and I've noticed that every time you do it, you're different later that night, more aggressive." The smirk broke through. She leaned forward, her eyes glittering with a kind of excitement that chilled me to the bone. "You figured it out," she said, like I had solved a clever riddle. "It turns me on to humiliate you in front of strangers. It's a power thing, to put you down a little, to show that I'm in charge." I just stared at her, trying to process the sheer arrogance of it. "So you're getting off on making me feel like an idiot in public?" "Oh, don't be so dramatic," she said, rolling her eyes. "It's not a big deal. It's just a game. Don't worry, you'll never see them again. They're just random people. It doesn't matter what they think." I just nodded. I didn't argue. I didn't yell. I just took a slow sip of my coffee and looked at her, really looked at her, for the first time in a long time. And I saw a stranger, a person who got pleasure from my humiliation, a person whose empathy had an off switch, a person who believed that some people just didn't matter. "Okay," I said, my voice completely calm. "I understand." She smiled, thinking she had won, thinking I had accepted her twisted little game. She thought I was just the quiet, simple carpenter who would go along with anything to keep her happy. She had no idea that my mind, the mind of a man who builds complex things from scratch, was already working. I was already designing a project, a beautiful, intricate, and utterly devastating piece of karmic furniture. She was right. I would never see those strangers again. But she would. Update 1. It's been a month since Isabella confessed her weird, humiliating kink to me. Outwardly, nothing has changed. I've been playing the part of the compliant boyfriend. We had a few more incidents in public, a waitress at a diner, a clerk at a bookstore. Each time, she'd make her little joke at my expense, and I'd just give her a tight, wounded smile. And each time, it would be followed by her brand of aggressive intimacy. I was letting her think she had successfully conditioned me. I was letting her get comfortable. In reality, I was gathering data. Every incident, every location, every stranger, it was all being logged in a private file on my computer. My revenge couldn't be simple. It couldn't be about embarrassing her back. That would be playing her game. My plan had to be bigger. It had to target the very foundation of her belief system. That strangers are disposable. That their opinions are worthless. I needed to create a situation where the opinions of those exact strangers became the most important thing in her entire world. The opportunity came from an unexpected place. Isabella is a highly ambitious interior designer. For the past year, her entire professional life has been focused on one goal: winning the annual Design Ascendant Award given by the most prestigious architecture and design magazine in the country. It's a career-making award. Winning it means a cover story, a massive cash prize, and your pick of wealthy clients for the rest of your life. The final stage of the competition is a live presentation. Each of the 5 finalists has to present a portfolio of their work and a pitch for a new project to a panel of judges. This year, the magazine was doing something new. To make the process more holistic, the panel wouldn't just be famous designers. It would also include what they called a community voice panel. A group of everyday people from different walks of life chosen to represent the perspective of the public. When I read about that in an article, my entire plan snapped into focus. It was perfect. It was a long shot, but I'm a patient man. I build things that last. I know how to put in the work. I started with the list of strangers I had been compiling. The grocery store stalker, the barista, the hardware store employee, the waitress, the bookstore clerk. I needed to find them. It took weeks of quiet, methodical work. I'm good with my hands, but I'm also good with a computer. I use social media, local community forums, and a couple of well-placed casual conversations to track them down. The grocery store kid, Leo, was a film student at the local university. The barista, Chloe, was a part-time musician. The hardware store guy, Marcus, was a retired veteran who worked there to stay busy. The waitress, Maria, was a single mom putting her daughter through college. The bookstore clerk, Ben, was a published poet. They were all good, hard-working people. The kind of people Isabella saw as scenery in the movie of her life. My next step was to figure out how the magazine was choosing the community voice panel. A little more digging revealed they were taking nominations from their subscribers. Anyone could nominate someone they thought had a keen eye for design and a strong community voice. So I started a quiet, anonymous campaign. I created 5 new email accounts. I wrote 5 heartfelt, completely unique nomination letters. I wrote about Leo, the film student's incredible visual storytelling. I wrote about Chloe, the musician's unique aesthetic. I wrote about Marcus's practical, no-nonsense approach to form and function. I wrote about Maria's resourcefulness and Ben's artistic soul. I made them sound like exactly the kind of diverse, interesting, and authentic voices the magazine was looking for. I also subscribed each of my 5 fake personas to the magazine's digital edition to make them look legit. It was a shot in the dark, but my business is built on precision and calculated risks. I submitted the nominations and waited. During this time, I was also playing my part at home. I was the perfect, submissive boyfriend. I even helped Isabella prepare for her presentation. I built custom frames for her design boards. I sat and listened for hours as she rehearsed her speech. A speech full of buzzwords like authenticity, community, and human-centric design. The irony was so thick I could have cut it with a table saw. 2 weeks ago, I got 5 separate emails from the magazine sent to my 5 different fake accounts. All 5 of my nominees had been selected for the community voice panel. I almost laughed out loud. It had actually worked. The final piece of the puzzle was me. I needed to be there to see it. That was easy. The awards ceremony and presentation were a ticketed industry event. As a custom furniture designer who has worked with several of the city's top architects, I had a legitimate reason to be there. I bought a ticket. The event is tonight. Isabella is a nervous wreck, but she's also radiating confidence. She thinks this is the biggest night of her life. She has no idea. She thinks she's about to be judged by a panel of her peers. She's about to be judged by a panel of her victims. She told me not to worry about those strangers, that we'd never see them again. In about 3 hours, she's going to walk onto a stage and see 5 of them sitting in the front row, holding her entire future in their hands. Final update, I'm home. The taste of victory is even sweeter than I imagined. It wasn't a loud, fiery explosion. It was a quiet, internal collapse, visible only to me, and it was a thing of absolute beauty. I arrived at the event hall early and took a seat in the back, where I could watch the whole room. It was exactly the kind of stuffy, self-important industry event Isabella loved. People in expensive, uncomfortable-looking clothes, air-kissing and pretending to be interested in each other. I saw the judges panel at the front. There were the 3 celebrity designers, looking bored. And next to them, looking nervous but excited, were the 5 members of the Community Voice panel. Leo, the film student, Chloe, the barista, Marcus, the veteran, Maria, the waitress, and Ben, the poet. My 5 strangers. They had been given name tags in a little folder. They looked completely out of place and, at the same time, like the only real people in the room. Isabella arrived with her entourage of fake friends. She was wearing a ridiculously expensive dress, a dress I now know was bought with the credit card I co-signed for. She was radiating a kind of desperate, hungry ambition. She worked the room, laughing too loudly, touching people's arms. A perfect performance of a confident, successful designer. She didn't even notice me in the back. Why would she? I was just part of the scenery. Finally, the presentations began. One by one, the finalists went up and gave their pitches. Then it was Isabella's turn. She walked onto the stage, a confident, practiced smile plastered on her face. She arranged her presentation boards on the easel. She took a deep breath, looked out at the audience, and started her speech. And then she saw them. I was watching her face, her eyes. I saw the exact moment her gaze swept across the front row and landed on the Community Voice panel. I saw the flicker of confusion. She looked at Leo, the grocery store kid, a tiny frown. She looked at Chloe, the barista. The frown deepened. Her eyes kept moving down the line. Marcus, Maria, Ben. I saw the blood drain from her face. The confident smile faltered. Her rehearsed opening words caught in her throat. It was a cascade of micro-expressions, a silent movie scream of pure, unadulterated horror. She wasn't just looking at 5 strangers. She was looking at a ghost from every one of her recent sins, all lined up in a neat little row, all staring back at her with polite, professional interest. Her belief system, the one that had allowed her to treat me and them with such casual cruelty, was being shattered in real time. These weren't nobodies. They were judges. Their opinions, the ones she had told me didn't matter, were now the only opinions in the world that did. She stumbled through her presentation. Her voice was shaky. She lost her place. She knocked over one of her own presentation boards. The carefully crafted persona of the confident, brilliant designer crumbled into a pile of nervous, stammering dust. The celebrity judges looked at her with a mixture of confusion and pity. The Community Voice panel just took notes, their faces unreadable. After her presentation, there was a short Q&A. Ben, the poet from the bookstore, asked her a simple, devastating question. Your pitch talks a lot about human-centric design and empathy for the end user. Could you give us an example from your personal life where you've used empathy to understand someone else's perspective, even when it was difficult? The silence that followed was the most beautiful sound I have ever heard. She just stood there, speechless, a deer in the headlights of her own hypocrisy. She mumbled something incoherent about understanding clients and then practically ran off the stage. She didn't win, of course. She didn't even place. I didn't stay for the rest. I had seen what I came to see. I was walking out of the hall when I heard my name. It was her. She had cornered me by the exit. Her face was a wreck, a twisted mask of rage and humiliation. You did this, she hissed, her voice low and shaking. Somehow you did this. I didn't deny it. I just gave her a calm, quiet smile. I have no idea what you're talking about, I said. It seems like a strange coincidence. But I guess it just goes to show you, doesn't it? The world is a small place. You never know who you're going to see again. I then looked past her, towards the front of the hall, where the judges were now mingling with the attendees. Leo, the grocery store kid, was talking animatedly with one of the biggest architects in the country. You should be careful, Isabella, I said, my voice barely a whisper. You based your entire life on the idea that some people don't matter. But everyone matters. You just never know who holds the key to the door you want to walk through. I didn't wait for a reply. I just turned and walked out into the cool night air, leaving her standing there, alone in a crowd of people, finally and completely humiliated, not by me, but by the quiet, undeniable weight of her own actions. She got her thrill, she got her power trip, and tonight, she got the bill, and it was a price she will be paying for the rest of her career.